Welcome to the June 24th, 2016 edition of Colorado Inside Postgame, a special web exclusive production here on Channel 12. Let's get a quick take on the 16th Street Mall making headlines this week for all the wrong reasons. Denver police announced a plan to crack down on panhandling on the mall after reports of a recent assault of a businessman in the middle of the afternoon. Patty Calhoun from Westward, this was among many headlines we've seen over the last few months. We're seeing some reaction, but is it enough?
No, it isn't enough. And what's interesting, how hard is it to figure out, they're coming up with a security plan that's been in the works for a year. How hard is it to figure out, get more security people down there early? I mean, you could figure that out on day one. This weekend they're having the start of their Meet in the Streets plan, which is to reactivate the mall. This plan calls for moving the mall buses to 15th and 17th. Because there's no problems with traffic on 15th and 17th. And instead activating the mall and having more people out there and more events, and that's fine for the weekends, but the thing that is working on the mall is that bus. People love that bus. Tourists love it, people in town use it. They use the mall. It's what happens off the bus that's the problem. And I think getting security out there, acknowledging the problem, not having shorter waits than 15 minutes, which is what came up with a stabbing victim recently, to get help, you need to have security out there.
David Kopel from the Independence Institute and DU Law School. It's a popular urban center. Denver is growing. It's going to continue. It's not going to immediately lose its popularity, but it's getting that kind of reputation. What needs to be done to protect that kind of an urban center?
Well, when people report crimes, the police should do something about it. So Amy Cook, the executive vice president of the Independence Institute, has an apartment on the mall, and she saw a crime in progress and called 911. And 911 said, oh, we're not going to do anything about that unless the property owner calls. You know, the mayor's doing a terrible, you know, the mall should be the centerpiece of Denver, but it's getting deservedly so a reputation as a dangerous place. You know, it's, think of like Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. That was a place where, yeah, you go to see the game and you park, and then you, after the game, you get to your car quickly and you leave the area. You don't linger in the neighborhood. And under the Hancock administration, downtown Denver is moving in that direction.
Eric Sonneman, political analyst. If you were advising the Downtown Denver Partnership at this point, what would your advice be?
I'm not sure how many levers the Downtown Denver Partnership has. I think the city has most of the levers. The Downtown Denver Partnership does not have a police force. The city has a police force. The mall is a showcase. It should be one of Denver's primary showcases. Now, most people I know avoid it almost at all costs. Whenever I'm down on the mall, I try to make it quick. I try to be purposeful about where I'm getting. I don't stop at a kiosk. I don't stop and get a hot dog or whatever. I'm very purposeful, and I'm looking over my shoulder. A couple nights ago, my wife was downtown to meet a friend who was in town at the convention center. And they very consciously did not go to the mall for dinner. They stayed away from the mall. They ate some restaurant over on 14th. So it has an economic impact. It has an impact in terms of our reputation. I don't know a lot of answers. I mean, I'm not one that wants to violate civil liberties. But I think within the realm of respecting people's civil liberties, I would go back to what Rudy Giuliani did years ago in New York in cleaning up New York City, which is the broken windows theory of policing. In this case, it's not broken windows, but what that is code for is enforce every little law to make it untenable and uncomfortable to be there if you're up to no good. I don't have a better answer than that. At least that's where I'd be for starters.
It's funny you bring up the whole reputation of the mall, but we had some professional colleagues come in from PBS just a few months ago. I think it was last August, and they stayed near the mall. And our office of the studios, Channel 12, or in the Five Points neighborhood, proudly so for over 20 years, they decided to walk. And Five Points is great and it's starting to grow and get better, but it's been a gritty neighborhood for much of the last 20 years. And to a person, the colleagues that had to walk from the middle of 16th Street Mall all the way down to Five Points felt far more comfortable in our Five Points neighborhood 6 months ago than they did walking down the mall. And as a native Denverite, that shocked the bejesus out of me. That was incredible. Susan Green from the ColoradoIndependent.com joins us. It's a multifaceted problem. I get the fact of respecting rights of whether it's urban travelers or the homeless and the different services needed. What's the right solution Denver needs to do to help the 16th Street Mall?
Not freak out because a guy got stabbed. Let's be clear, this is not Compton, this is not East New York, it's the 16th Street Mall, and it gets mallier every year. It gets more Jamba juicier and Larkburgerier every year. And a guy got stabbed there, as do many people in other parts of the city, many more people in other parts of the city with far fewer headlines. Let's be clear about that. The fact that there are people panhandling, you know, this sort of fear of the urban travelers. Well, there have always been urban travelers in Denver. It's a sort of junction town. People pass through, they panhandle, and also we have a really major housing crisis on this Front Range, and people need to panhandle, and they do it there because that's where the tourists are and that's where the crowds are. And you know, I don't think the answer is really a police state on the mall. I think the answer to some of the panhandling is much more complicated than that. I still think people can feel perfectly safe doing their yoga and visiting their inflatable animals this weekend on the park without getting stabbed.
It's a good point, and I have to tell you that Larkburger is now my favorite adjective. Oh. That was absolutely fantastic. Okay. That is all the time we have for Colorado Inside Out postgame this week. Leave us a comment, tell us what you think. For everyone here at Channel 12 and CPT12.org, I'm Dominic Dezzutti. Thanks for watching.